Adrian Yanez. Is that the right pronunciation?
Yanez, any way you want to pronounce it, man, it's cool with me, man. A lot of people get it wrong sometimes, so I'm just cool with whatever way you want to say it.
How about this one? Adrian Yanez, UFC fighter. How does that sound?
Oh man, that sounds great, man. I absolutely love that one a lot more.
Mate, tell us, Houston, Texas, right?
Yes, sir.
What's it like there at the moment? Like, how's COVID affected your prep and how's life there?
Well, first it initially kind of just shut down and like had us out the gym for about 2, 3 weeks. Just with everything going on, everything was super strict. I just had to get my road work. Everything was really pretty much secluded off. You couldn't go anywhere. Everything was pretty much shut down. So it was rough for a second, but then we found a little t-shirt place that had a warehouse space,
Yep.
and we are able to
Yep.
get the training from there for a long time, for like about 2 to 3 months, and then we ended up at the gym that we're at right now, at O Athletics, Metro Fight Club mixed in with O Athletics, and and as of right now, we're going good, going strong. We've been pretty safe about everything, and it's just been great. Everything's starting to open up a little bit more here. Everybody's still kind of like everybody's still kind of in that little in between. Some people are wearing the mask, some people are not. But me personally, I'm me personally, I'm still wearing my mask. I'm being safe because the COVID precautions that the UFC makes you take, you really have to be on point, man. You don't want to get caught with anything whatsoever because you're off the card.
No,
So I'm taking every single precaution, not letting it get away from me.
absolutely. Have you had those nose swabs yet?
Oh man, I had one before, and it wasn't bad. They had me like regular Q-tip ones, the Q-tip size ones. It's like, oh man, this ain't bad. They stuck it up my nose,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh man, this isn't bad at all. Uh, that test ended up taking like 9 to 11 days before we even got the results back. So in that meanwhile, I was like, man, I really got to find out if I had this. I got to get back to training. I can't sit down. I can't stay here. So we found a place that was like, oh, we can get the same day results. So, oh, okay, cool. We go there. I thought it was going to be the same thing, the same small little
Nah.
YouTube. No, this one, they got a real long one, and then they stuck it up my nose, and I was just, man, that thing was making me cry. I was like shedding tears by the time they went in my first nostril. Then they went in my next one. Man, that thing had, I it looked like I just got punched in the nose or something, man. I was teary eyed. But then after that, the next one I did was the next COVID test I did was the I guess you had to send saliva through Vault,
Hmm.
the Vault company. They were mixed in with the UFC, and I sent them another sample before we took off, and then after that I had a test at the UFC, but they didn't go up the nose. They did another test where you go through the side of your throat,
You're right.
and that after that, that's pretty much all the type of testing I got is either through the nose, either through the back of the throat, or through the saliva. That's about it.
Yeah, so we're in Australia over here, and we've actually got mobile stations as well that the public can just go if they feel they've got some symptoms. And I tell you,
Yeah,
it doesn't get any better the second time. It's
yeah,
terrible.
no, yeah, no. I've only had that nostril one twice. The first one wasn't bad, but the second one, oh man, that one got me.
Fair
That
enough.
one really got me.
Mate, tell us about your journey into MMA. How did you get there? Like, how did it all come about?
Man, I just grew up like we would watch boxing all the time coming up.
Hmm.
Me and my family. My dad was a boxer when he was younger, so it was just all that mixture into one. Whenever I was younger, we were looking for a boxing gym to go into, but things didn't plan out the way they were. Some family personal things had gone on, but later on in life, just one day, I was walking through the mall with my mom. Out of all people, my mom took me to the mall. As a teenager, of course, I was reluctant to go.
Yep.
I didn't really want to go, but whenever we went, I just hear a whole bunch of like, just just thuds, just felt like something was smacking something. I go over there, I get closer and closer and closer just to find out that it's an MMA gym, and I was like, oh man, let's try this out. And I looked at my mom. I was like, hey mom, want to try it? She's like, nope. But I ended up trying it later on that night, and the rest is history, man. I just really got into it after my first day, and I fell in love with it.
Yeah, gotcha. Were you initially, you had a grappling background, right?
Yeah. My first ever martial art. Well, back in the day, like I really don't count it, but I did like a year or two of karate whenever I was younger. I really don't count it, but uh, my first real initial introduction to martial arts was karate, but I really didn't start anything until like whenever I was 15, and that was Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu,
Yep.
and that's legitimately like my first like my first martial arts that like I took seriously. And yeah, so a lot of people kind of get that like, oh, they see like my fights and they're like, yeah, this guy's a stand-up guy, he's a stand-up artist. And I was like, well, no, I'm really well versed in jiu-jitsu. It's just that I don't show it because I like knocking people out.
Yeah, gotcha. So how did that transition to striking come about?
And I just always loved knockouts.
Yeah.
That was the thing, is I always loved knockouts. I started off and I was at a gym where we're just doing like everything was jiu-jitsu based, even the MMA, like straight jiu-jitsu based. And ended up getting my purple belt within 2.5 years, because we were just consistently just doing consistently just doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. We're doing BJJ the whole entire time, even for like mixed martial arts and everything.
Mm.
So I really didn't have too much of a striking background. I knew how to punch, but I really didn't learn striking like legitimately until I moved to my new gym at Metro Fight Club at the time.
Yep.
And that's where I ended up getting my striking, was from Sauce Elise. And what you see now is pretty much all the embodiment of all the training that went from from uh from the beginning whenever I first started. Because after my first amateur fight, I knew I needed something more,
Yep.
and that's whenever I went over to Sauce Elise at Metro Fight Club. And from then on out, that's everything that you see me do now is all learned. Even still to this day, I'm still learning a lot about striking. So it's one of those things that I just love knocking people out. So if I can learn more technique to help me knock people out, then
Yeah.
I'm cool with it.
Tell us more about Metro Fight Club. What's the environment like? What are the teachers like?
Oh man, our main instructor is Sauce Elise. To me, he's hands down the best in Texas. He's uh, one of the best in the United States, and one of the best around the world.
Hmm.
And back in the day, he was actually training Tito Ortiz, Rico Rodriguez. He actually trained Quentin for a little bit, Rampage Jackson for a little bit. He actually helped coach on The Ultimate Fighter during all that time. He's usually that small Asian Mexican looking guy. Every time like there's a fight about to break out, uh, in the tough, whenever it came to Chuck and Tito and all that stuff, he was breaking that up a lot of times. You could catch glimpses of him in there.
I gotta check the tapes again.
Yeah, he also helped corner Melvin Gillard and all that stuff.
Yep.
He's had a lot of fighters, and also uh, he was on Chris Cyborg's title run whenever she went into the UFC.
Yeah, gotcha.
Uh, I think the only camp that he wasn't with her in that was after the Holly. I think it was after the Holly Holmes fight. Like, well, she got the title, and then after that, I think she had her first defense against Holly Holmes. So he wasn't a part of that one, but he was a part of her camp for Invicta, and then every other fight in the UFC, all up until the Holly Holmes fight.
Yeah, gotcha. Look, what I really find interesting is like that whole journey before you actually get to the big show, and obviously the regional circuit. It's tough, right? You got a lot of guys that are vying for the same spot. Talk to us a bit more about that, and what do you find to be the most challenging aspect of the fight game?
Man, it's getting the right fights at the right times.
Mm.
Like I'm not talking about cherry picking or anything like that. Not looking for the best fight for you to make sure you get the win. It's about fighting the right people at the right times. Whenever you're 2-0, you're not supposed to be fighting a guy that's 14-2.
Yep.
So you gotta be very cautious about taking those leaps and bounds type of fights. If you're 1-1, of course you need to go and get that win. Need to get that win fight, but don't do yourself a disservice and take an easier fight like some guy who was like 0-9 or 0-10 at the time. So it's all about building yourself and also helping build your skills and also being, how can I say it? Also giving yourself the confidence by beating guys who are top quality at the level that you're at.
Yep.
Especially whenever you're first turning pro, and then let's just say like in my last fight, my last LFA fight, I fought a very tough guy in Colorado. I fought him and I fought him at the right time. Great record. He had a great record. I have a great record. So whenever we fought, it just made sense. It wouldn't have made sense for me if I fought. Uh, if I was, I think at the time I was like 10-3. I was 10-3. Ended up fighting a guy like at that time. Let's just say I fought a guy that was like 0-19 or something like that. That would have been very bad.
Yep.
Don't do that. I think the only time I ever fought anybody who was close to even or upside down was because it was a short notice replacement fight, and I just needed to get a fight in.
Yep.
For that times whenever it's in that type of a case, it's understandable. But you know, I just try to steer anybody who asks me questions about this, like, dude, don't cherry pick. Don't try to choose the fighter. Don't try to choose an easy fight every single time. It's like if you're gonna fight, of course you're gonna need like the tough matchups every once in a while. But you need to be fighting a guy like if at your level. So if you're 1-1, fight somebody who's either 1-0, debuting, 0-1, 1-0, 2-0, 2-1. Anybody within that range is all great for you, because you're not up there. I'm not going to sit there and tell one of the people I'm giving advice to, yeah, don't fight that 10-0 guy. You're 1-1 right now. You fight that 10-0 guy. You can beat that guy. It's not the right fight for him. He needs to fight somebody who just has like 3 pro fights. But it's a long journey, man. There's a lot of people like trying to make a name off of you, especially in the regional circuit, depending on who there is around you to fight. Like there's this guy in Houston that we kind of mirrored each other a lot in the regional circuit, but we just never fought. Uh, but there's also people who I've paralleled as well in the regional circuit, and we fought at the time that we were supposed to fight, and I came out on top. There's one that didn't come out on top, and that's against Domingo Pilarte. We're both Houston regional guys, but he's in the UFC right now, so he fought me at the right time, and it shot him up. So for me, I needed to go back, get a couple more wins, ended up fighting again somebody who I needed to fight at that time, but I just wasn't fully developed at that time. I fought Miles Johns, then he goes up to the UFC. So it's one of those give and takes type of things that you have to be ready to fight that fight.
Yep.
So there's just a lot of things that go into it. I can go on about this all day and keep going down and just find myself going down in a rabbit hole. But like in my last fight, I fought Khalid Strada. I fought him, even though it's a United States. It was a United States type of thing. He wasn't a Texas region guy. He was a California guy. It was more like national. So I fought him at the right time, at least for me, because I was ready for the opportunity.
Gotcha. Tell us about the Contender Series experience. How would you describe it, and take us through the fight ending sequence?
Oh man, that whole fight week, man, I felt just this overwhelming sense of confidence. I have never felt that calm before. Like it was just a weird calming sense of feeling. As soon as I got to Las Vegas, I just knew like this is my time. I'm not leaving without a contract. This is one of those things that I've worked so hard for. Like I said before, I've had those ups and downs in my career. I've always been close to that point, but always just fell a bit short. So whenever I finally got there, I just knew I was not going to be denied. And whenever I was there at the Apex that night, I just remember just going around and just telling myself, man, this is my time. You know, Brady, he's a good fighter, but he'll have his chance again.
Mm.
It's like in that whole entire night, I was just in my head. I was like, tonight's my night, man. I'm sorry it has to be Brady, but it's gonna be him, not me. And I just kept going, 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 even to the point where I was walking down the hall, and right before we walk out, they were playing his promo. And I remember them. They had the promo, and you see it right there. You're standing right before you walk out. They have a TV up, and it's right in front of your face. It's a huge 50+ inch TV. And I was just sitting there just looking, and they're talking about Brady. And what kind of triggered me a little bit was I saw that Sean Shelby was talking about Brady, and I just remember just being in my head. It just triggered, and I was like, I'm sending your boy home tonight. I'm sending your boy home tonight. I just started like getting like I got pumped up, and I was like, ooh, like I in my own head, like I was like, they're counting me out. I'm about to disappoint everybody in there. I'm gonna go ahead and disappoint everybody in there. So whenever I was walking down, I just had this overwhelming sense of confidence and this sense of man, I'm gonna make a statement. And then whenever I got in there, I looked across the cage, and it was just one of these weird things. Like I used to be this guy who just looks down. I don't look up at my opponent until the bell rings. But man, like ever since I started getting more comfortable in the cage, I started looking around. I looked up at him, and the moment I knew I had him is whenever I looked up. And as soon as he locked eyes with him. He just automatically just turns his head and looked off. I was like, oh yeah, he's done. And as soon as the bell rang to fight, I stepped forward. You know, he comes in, he throws a little jab, and then he throws a kick, and I was like, okay. It's like he's not as fast as I thought. And then he shoots in, and then I stuffed the shot. He starts punching me a little bit. I was like, this guy doesn't have power either. And I kept moving. I moved, and then from the tapes that I saw, I knew what he wanted to throw. He kind of throws everything kind of chambered. Everything was basically in the same technical sense of like everything's straight down the pipe, and everything is pretty short and crisp.
Mm.
And I was like, for me, I see that all the time, so it was perfect for me. So I saw the opportunity to counter, and then whenever I saw him load, like I saw him step down and wanting to throw that right hand. So when he threw it, I slipped off, and I caught him with the right, and then threw that hook.
Yep.
And as soon as I threw that hook, I saw his legs buckle, and at that moment, I thought he was done. But I hear my coach saying, "Finish him!" So I just got up, and I just walked up to him, and I just threw like about a 5 punch combination. Every single one of them landed, and whenever he hit the floor again, I I backed up, but I saw that Jason Herzog didn't step in, so I was ready to throw another combination. And Jason Herzog stepped in, and I was like I was walking around, I was like, ooh, I had this moment of just like they were all counting me out. They were all counting me out. But then I just started walking around, looked in my corner, I was like, I just remember just being like, yeah. And I just yelled it one more time, yeah. And then all of a sudden just walked around. I was like, it all just started hitting me. I was like, oh shit. Like, I think I just secured my contract. And that's when I was like, oh shit, I did it. And I just collapsed on the floor, and I was just laying there, just kind of just soaking the moment in, because that whole entire time, whenever I was there in Vegas, I wasn't even focused about anything else around me.
Yep.
I was just so focused on the fight that everything else just seemed like nonchalant to me. Not me being in Vegas wasn't even a factor. Me flying out there for a fight, like nothing was a factor. Even though I was fighting in front of Dana White, and a lot of people kind of look at that and they're freaked out by it, or they freaked out by that. Like you're fighting on the biggest stage of your career. To me, I was so unbothered by it. I was just there, and then right after I won, it all hit me like a ton of bricks, and I was just like, oh, oh shit, I did this. Like I did this. I completed one goal that I set out for myself. So it was a great feeling. It was a super great feeling.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Actually, I can't imagine. It's only something that you can feel. I've got an interesting one for you. So you know how they're planning on bringing the Ultimate Fighter back? If you had your way, would you, assuming that would you do the Contender Series route or the Ultimate Fighter if you were given both the opportunity?
Man, I'd rather just do the Contender Series.
Mm,
I wouldn't want to stay in the house cooped up with a whole bunch of
yeah.
uh, other fighters for 6 weeks. I know the way I am. Like after like like let's just say like by the end of the week, me and my training partners after a long week of like just like wrestling, hitting each other, drilling, doing jiu-jitsu, we're all kind of frustrated by the end of the week. So I could just imagine that, but staying in a house where you're with them 24/7, and I know we would probably get one of those guys who would just be teasing and teasing and teasing, or just trying to play pranks. And I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy. I get easily mad if you just go out there. Let's just say like I'm about to go to sleep and you just start messing with me, or you play a prank on me while I'm trying to go to sleep. I'll get up. I'll start fighting. I'm tired. I'm crazy. I'm not trying. I'm not trying to do any of that. Like I'm not with the whole pranking stuff, especially if I'm tired and I'm frustrated, want to go home. I haven't seen my family or anything like that. Man, I'd be throwing chairs at people, man. I'm not,
To be honest, it's
so
sounding like would have made for really good TV though. But
it would have made for great TV, but I would have made an ass of myself.
fair enough, fair enough. Mate, your first fight in the UFC, Aaron Phillips. We've got a name now. How's the prep going? What do you know about him? Run me through it.
Man, I know he's a stand-up fighter. I know he's a stand-up Muay Thai fighter. He has pretty good kicks. I saw that he's already had a first stint in the UFC. He went 0-2, and now he fought Jack Shore on short notice on Fight Island.
Yep.
Didn't go his way. I'm just taking a look, and I'm just kind of noticing a trend that he'll beat everybody on the regional scene, but whenever he steps up to the actual competition, like the higher competition in the UFC, it doesn't go well for him. And I'm planning to keep that same thing going on whenever I step in the cage against Aaron Phillips. I look at his punches; they're not fast. He really doesn't sit down on them. His kicks, he kind of loads up; they're a little bit too slow. And then, man, I look at his wrestling. I don't think he has the wrestling the type of guys that I've fought before.
Yep.
I don't think he's as good a wrestler as Miles Johns. I know I kind of saw that he went to go up there with Fortis MMA and go train with Miles Johns, but I'm just looking at it. I was like, man, you can do whatever you want, but you're not gonna have the wrestling that Miles Johns has. I was like, you can do whatever you want, but you're not gonna have the hand speed that I have. You can do whatever you want, but you're just not gonna be a kicker like Kyle Estrada. I was like, man, like, it's like I'm just looking at this fight and I just feel that it's a perfect matchup for me. Uh, if he tries to stand toe to toe with me, I believe he's going to hit the floor. Especially if he tries to come in guns blazing in the first round.
Yep.
He's going to sleep. Uh, I think he's a good scrappy fighter, but I think I think he did wrong by signing the paper against me. So I'm just ready. I'm super ready. I've been training. I've been nonstop training, uh, especially since I got the 39-second knockout against Brady.
Yep.
I just stepped right back into the gym. I just never stopped. I went back into the gym, just kept honing my craft and never got out of shape. I'm just ready. Like I felt like I went through one training camp, got the rest, now I'm back at another, and I'm just ready to make my splash in the UFC.
Yeah, absolutely. I can sense excitement when you chat about it. Speaking of striking and the technical elements, you really extend on your punches. I don't know how else to like. Has that something like? Obviously, we have the Sergio Pettis comparisons. No, just playing.
All right, all right, all right, all right. All right,
I
man.
knew
I
it.
think I'm done.
I knew it. There's
We're
lucky
going
there's
to
screens here, mate.
Yeah.
No, I'm just tripping. Obviously, with the Masvidal comparisons, but
Yeah.
like, have you always, thrown punches like that?
I I've always been told to snap my
Yeah.
punches. Like that's one thing my dad, especially back in the day whenever I was growing up, my dad would always tell me, he's like, at the end, just snap your punches. Don't just leave them. Don't just leave them out there. Whenever you extend, but you pull it right back. It's like, and I've always been told, and when you get full extension on your punches, it's like, and you actually hit the guy, you're gonna hit that guy with the most power that you have. It doesn't even matter if you threw it at
Yeah.
100%
Yeah.
or not. As long as you're out there, and you just give full extension. You'll knock the guy out. Just look at Connor. Most of the fights that he's had that he's knocked people out, it's not because like he went out there and loaded up on the shot and loaded up. It's because he got full extension. He placed his punches right and got the stoppage. Look at Israel Adesanya. Anytime he throws, he throws very technical. He can throw long shots, and those long shots will knock you out. So it's just one of those things that that's kind of been like drilled into my head. Snap your punches. The end of your punch will always hurt more than just a short, compact punch. Those long punches that you catch them at the very end are the ones that knock people out. And then also, like watching boxing, I've always been taking tips from any video I see. Man, I love watching people like Canelo Alvarez, Lomachenko, Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao is actually a good one because he extends on his left hand.
Yep.
He extends on his left hand, knocks people out all the time. So that's another good person that I like to watch. So, it's just one of those things that I just kind of grew up and it's just been instilled in my head.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Mate, to round it off, let me rattle some names for you. Sean O'Malley, Corey Sandhagen, Frankie Edgar, Marlon Vera, Alger Sterling. You really want to be in the bantamweight division? Like, it's so stacked. I don't know. Like, that's not even 15 names, but looking at it, it's probably one of the more stacked divisions. Like, when I read those names, what do you think about it?
I am legitimately excited.
Yeah.
That this is one of those things that differentiate a lot of people.
Yep.
A lot of people, you hear those names and they're just like, damn, that guy's really good. Damn, man, like that guy's really, really good. He knocks people out. Marlon Moraes, man, he got power for days. It's like Sean O'Malley, he got the length. He's very creative. You got Aljamain Sterling, his wrestling's super good and his striking's starting to get better. Corey Sandhagen, man, he's just overall just a great guy. I'm looking at that. I'm looking at all of that as challenges. I'm looking at them and I'm just like, man, like how can I solve this puzzle? I want to go out there. Like I love to problem solve. I want to go out there and just solve any problem that's in front of me. I've never been put out. I've always like had the real close fights. Always figured them out just a little bit too late. But I think with this whole new vamp of how I've been looking at everything, man, I've been finding people out pretty quickly, and man, I'm excited to go against those type of guys. I have no problem stepping in the cage with any one of those guys. If you were to tell me I'm doing like I had to fight one of them tomorrow, I'm stepping in the cage with one of them tomorrow. And that's the thing too, is that I'm not looking at this like, man, I need to pick the right fights. Well, I'm in the UFC. Every single fight that you're gonna have in the UFC is tough.
Yeah.
So I'm going in there with knowing that any one of those 35ers can put me out. Like and to their credit, they're good. They're good at what they do. But man, I want to shut all their lights out. I don't want to go. I have like, if I didn't want to fight those guys, I never would have gotten to the UFC. I never would have made my goal to get there. I already know that those guys are the toughest guys. I know I got to go out there and shut them all out.
Absolutely. Adrian, that's an amazing mentality, and we're really excited for your first fight and to see what you achieve in the UFC. Thank you for this.
Man, thank you very much, man.
Cheers, brother.